Do you ever long for a more meaningful and engaging life and then add seemingly meaningful things that you thought they would help make you happier? I've been there, but over the past 10 years I found that it's actually been the things that I've removed from my life that improved it. The eliminations then allowed me the physical, mental and emotional space to be happier and to focus on what's really important to me. And the good news is that you can do this at any age. You don't have to wait until you're 50. Join me as I share the 7 things I quit that made me more content. I'm the Forest Fairy. Welcome to my corner of the woods where I'm rebuilding, revamping, redesigning a magical life and hopefully inspire you to gather your own fairy dust. Hello everyone, I hope you're having a fabulous week. The year is heading towards its demise and for some of us it's the summer holidays, sun, sand and sea. However, this week some irritation rose up within me around my overthinking, my being scared and my stuff. There is still way too much. I was reminded that even if I've let things or behavioral patterns go in the past, they can sometimes creep up on me again and demand another clearing. I'm there again. So here, in no particular order, are the 7 things I ditched to make my life more meaningful and happier. Some I'm happy with and some need attention again. But I've realized quitting is sometimes a continuous journey. Hands up who's guilty of overthinking, of unpacking every big and small decision because that's what life's made up of, decisions, of making yourself crazy, thinking this way and that, drawing up spreadsheets with pros and cons, garnering the opinions of others, lying awake, worrying. Yes, of course, some decisions do require in-depth thinking and discussions, but if you're like me, this can sometimes lead to the dreaded one, procrastination. But a light bulb moment went up for me recently when I heard a profound view on overthinking. It was by Dr. Ellen Langer, a Harvard professor and author, in an interview with podcaster Rich Roll. I'll link it below. She said, rather than waste your time being stressed over making the right decision, make the decision right. We tend to base our decisions on predictions. We predict the things each choice will have and then try to decide which will be greater, better. But we can't actually predict. We can't actually know how each choice will play out. That is why regret is so mindless, she says, because then we're assuming that the choice we didn't make would have been better. And when you realize you can't predict which will be better, then it doesn't matter. And when it doesn't matter, life becomes easier. So Dr. Ellen suggests just randomly choose and make your choice the right one. The intentional designing of my days was a game changer, thanks to my son-in-law handing me the book The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. But understand, I didn't implement its recommendations because I love structure, but because I know I need structure to live my best life. Things get done, fun is had and peace is cultivated with much less guilt than before because they have blocks of time dedicated to them. For example, you can read peacefully for an hour in the evening if you know that the things that move the needle of your life have been done for the day. Or you can be laser focused on your income streams in the morning if you know that engagement such as emails or calls will be done in your admin hour. Now, your phase of life might not need a firm schedule, but one must still be wary that life doesn't just roll by carelessly, and before you know it, another week, another month, another year, and a decade has passed. Don't waste it. Even a rough, roomy schedule can ensure some accomplishment or that important things aren't forgotten or ignored. As with many things, the schedule and I are both works in process, but I'm sticking to it because it is very freeing to know I've scheduled time for what I need and want to do. I also find it easier to be flexible within a structure. I can be impulsive or spur of the moment or allow a bit of chaos, as I know it's easier then to get back into the calm and peaceful flow again. So read the books, design the structure that suits you. Or, as another expert said, just pick a routine and stick to it. Whether it's getting up at 5 a.m. or 10 a.m., whether it means working deep in the morning or working deep in the evenings. The thing that's important is to create your own routine and persist with it. A routine schedule is good for your physical health, as sleeping, eating, exercising become patterns that your body benefits from, while scheduled work, fun, and quiet times are good for your bank accounts and mental and spiritual health. Keeping up in this context isn't about keeping up with the Joneses or keeping up appearances. Not at all. This is about letting go of the idea that I don't have to or can't keep up. Sure, that was a lot of negatives in that sentence, but you get my drift. Sometimes we feel we don't have to keep up looking good and healthy, and we become sloppy and unkept. Or we feel we don't have to keep up with technology, and we begin to lose out on amazing opportunities or ideas. Or we don't have to keep up our friendships and social connections, and we retreat into ourselves and our homes and become hermity. I can relate to this one. Or we haven't intentionally adjusted to being solo and then don't go out or about or take the dream trip. The emotions driving these things can be different, but I found in my own life that fear and just plain laziness can keep me from keeping up. Is fear perhaps holding you captive? Are you too scared to make the move, either on a person or to that enchanting place where you always wanted to live? Or are you too scared to try a different career, too scared to master the latest technology, or even too scared to change your hairstyle? It does grow again, by the way. Or am I just too lazy to keep up my fitness, or dress in the style I like, or take the course to learn how to code or paint? And the worrying thing I have found about not keeping up, or even waiting for the perfect time, is that the gap becomes a ravine after a while, making crossing over and keeping up so much harder. A good example in my life was my trek in Nepal. I wasn't as fit as I would have liked to have been due to short notice. But I found that by keeping hot on the heels of a fitter trekking friend, I could keep up. It was much easier, tongue-in-cheek, to keep up than to catch up. What are you not keeping up with? What are you procrastinating on? Physical clutter is a lot like being unstructured for me. It makes me slightly irritated, out of sorts, and restless. It has the ability to remove me mentally from my tasks as I battle to focus, and physically as it makes me want to sort and tidy so that I can focus again. As many of you know, I emptied my storage unit earlier this year and let go of a lot of stuff, but it's time to clear even more from my small cottage. I am by no means a minimalist, but I like my environment to be calm and peaceful. And too much stuff does not support this, so I'll be letting go even more furniture and bric and brac for a better flow. Does your home reflect how you want to feel? The same goes for my wardrobe and style. I haven't yet embraced the Steve Jobs concept of wearing the same outfit and color every day, but I do have a limited range of clothes, not quite the popular capsule wardrobe though. I'm figuring out what really works for my current lifestyle, casual and relaxed, but still stylish and unique to me. No mean feat. So get to know what works for your life now and what would make it easier and simpler to get dressed and go. And this just may mean, as I have found, getting rid of the stuff that hardly ever or never gets worn for whatever reason, as it's just cluttering up your wardrobe and mind. Once the clutter is under control, I can more easily organize the chaos. My kitchen is along the same vein. I've pared down considerably in this area. The flood also helped. And as storage space is restricted, everything has a designated job and place. Let me know how you view your belongings and if perhaps a full house actually makes you feel cozy and nurtured. I've ditched the idea that I need to be too precious about my body now that I'm older. In fact, I don't really think I've ever thought that way, but I often hear people starting to limit themselves at a certain age. They may say around their bodies, I don't climb ladders anymore, or we need to buy a home without stairs, or you'll hurt yourself if you lift weights. And about their mind, that's too difficult for me to understand, or I'm too old to learn new things, or that's for the younger generations. No. While I do realize that some may have serious medical conditions which do limit their physical activities, most of us have wonderful bodies that we don't use enough. I have to be wary that I don't, when I feel a twinge in the morning, immediately think it's age-related and then become more careful. It's probably because I don't use that muscle enough or keep the joint flexible enough. I do take proper safety precautions, for example, when climbing a ladder. But we should definitely continue to use our muscles and joints by climbing the stairs, doing the balancing exercises, dancing when we feel like it, walking barefoot, lifting weights, and just walking as much as possible. And this goes for our minds as well. Do the coding course, learn how to paint, read the stimulating book, listen to the podcast. Keep your mind thinking, not overthinking or overloading it with information, just using it and stretching it. I love magazines, especially the home decor ones, but when downsizing and moving, I found myself throwing away heaps of magazines that had only been enjoyed briefly, and I realized that they are the one fleeting, expensive, and unnecessary luxury for me. Adjustments had to be made to my mindset and my purse, and my spending became more mindful and less thoughtless. I will now try, for example, to rather opt for the leather wax to ensure my favorite bag keeps looking good over a cup of takeaway tea, or a beach meetup with my daughter instead of a lunch. And this is not about being frugal, it's much more than that. It's about deliberately choosing where and on what we spend our money. And yes, I am now and again impulsive, and they're generally my best buys, because an impulsive buy can be a mindful one if you've set your parameters and requirements. Your list of thoughtless or unnecessary spending is probably way different from mine. Please share in the comments below what you have stopped spending on and what you're prioritizing. And then there's the more complex one, the letting go of draining emotions, patterns, behaviors, and people. At times they have dominated my life and can still sneak in. So eliminating them is more a journey than a once-off, and I need to be kind to myself and perhaps someone else as well. I'm talking about emotions such as jealousy, anger, resentment, bitterness, shame, and behaviors and patterns such as gossiping, blaming, self-criticism, and playing small. As a caveat, I'm not a medical practitioner or counselor, and encourage you to seek professional guidance if you are worried about any of your tendencies, behaviors, or emotions. I believe a dose of perceived negative emotion every now and again isn't necessarily a bad thing, and perhaps healthy. We are but human, but it becomes worrying when it expands to be harmful to yourself and others, or if you wallow in it too long, or if it begins to control you. I carried some emotions around for far too long before I eventually went on a journey of healing. I just decided that I wasn't going to become a bitter old lady, quietly angry and shut off. And it's funny how once you start cleaning up your thoughts and emotions, you start to see how toxic or negative behaviors such as gossiping, blaming, playing small are also really not in your best interest either. And then when my patterns and behaviors became more positive, I became more discerning about who I hang out with. Who are my inspiring tribe? Yes, I know that sometimes there are people you just need to cut for your survival, never mind your thriving. But then there are those I didn't just want to exclude from my life, and I just began to learn how to manage myself around them. Maybe it's time you got honest with yourself and really looked at your dominant thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and tendencies. Are they really serving you? So there you have it, the 7 things I ditched to make my life more meaningful and happier. Perhaps it's got you thinking about what you should remove from your life. If you've enjoyed this conversation, you may also be inspired by the conversation where I shared the 6 conventional things I quit to become more me. Wishing you a meaningful week filled with happiness and, of course, sprinklings of fairy dust. Until next time, goodbye